little baitfish fry that you use to nymph. It's a nymphing fry, but I call it the Baitfish Perdigon, however you pronounce that. This is McFly Angler.
Starts now.
So the easiest way to put a bead on the hook is to put the bead in your hand and then bring the hook point to it. I've shown this in a couple videos before, but with these slotted beads, as you can see, when they're not oriented properly, they don't move all the way up. But if you twist them to the right side. So the hooks I'm using, this is a jigged hook. It's the Resin barbless jig fly hook, 9230. Okay, they're really good hooks, really strong and quite sharp actually. And then the bead, I'm doing a 3mm. Okay, you could do a little bit larger, generally with the size 12. This, by the way, is size 12. It's hard to see there, but that's size 12. Generally, you want a like 3.5 or 4 bead with the size 12 when you're doing other flies, but with these, I like a smaller bead, and you'll see why in a minute. But the 3mm, the Resin's tungsten slotted beads, and I'm just doing silver. You can do whatever color you want. This will end up being the head of the baitfish, so do whatever you want with it for color. I'm just doing silver. So then for thread, I've got a 10-aught, a Vivus 10-aught in white. And then right before we start, I like to add a little bit more weight. Okay, so this is 0.015 size lead wire, and this will add the weight that you normally would have with a heavier bead without the size of the heavy, the larger bead. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We don't need a lot. I'm just adding a little more weight, and this is a lead-free wire. Okay, you could use lead. I like the lead-free for my health and the health of the rivers, but up to you. 5, 6, 7, whatever wraps you want. I don't need a lot, but then you push it right up against the bead. That's going to help hold that bead into place. And start your thread right behind the bead. Break or cut off the thread waste. Come up through that lead. And what that's going to do is that's going to also build a taper, not only just add weight to the fly, okay? So that's going to build a taper, and you'll see why that's beneficial in a minute. And for a tail, I'm going to use this whiting chickaboo. I really like these. I use these for tails a lot. I really like the chickaboo, but it's a big pelt, probably a good 100, 200 feathers on there, maybe more. And you just pull off one feather, and then I like to wet it so it's easier to tie in. You don't need a big, long tail. I actually tend to like these a little shorter. So I like about 1/2 of a hook shank length. You just tie it in right to the back here, like so. Come up a little bit. It's going to get in the way, so you want to trim everything off. Now you want to make sure that you trim it off to right behind that lead bump there, so that's going to help with the taper. Like so. Yeah, it was a little short. Probably cut it a little shorter than I need, but that's okay. It'll work out. Okay. Now we're going to come back almost to the back there. Let's cut off any. That'll help make that body a little smoother. Okay, next you're going to want to cut off this Flashaboo. Regular pearl is what I use. You could use whatever color you want, silver, anything like that, but Flashaboo will work. The regular size, you don't need the bigger size, that like saltwater flash. You want to cut off 3 or 4, and there are 4 here. It looked like 2 there, but there are 4 on this one. So again, we're tying that in, and then we are going to stop right past the hook point here, maybe half. Let's go a little further than halfway up. Okay, And then we just start wrapping this on. I'm going to bring this up like so. Make 2 wraps, lay it back, make 2 wraps over it so it stays back. So next we're going to take 3 or 4 strands of crystal flash. It's basically the same thing as Flashabou, but it's twisted. Okay, we're going to wrap that back to, you know, right in front of that hook point there. And we're going to build up a little bit of a abdomen here. And by the way, I have this in bulk, so it's a big bulk thing I got from, I think, like Fly Tires Dungeon. I still haven't used it all, so I'll link to a place that has, you know, lower quantity. You're probably never going to use it. I haven't, and I tie, you know, professionally, you know, so yeah, I sell flies, so I'm, you know, I'm going through it, and I still haven't. So anyway, now you're going to take this, you're going to go under, and start wrapping this once again. Okay, the Flashabou. We're just going to cover that up. So wrap over it a couple times and back up on it, make sure it stays. And then I'm going to pull this forward. And then we're going to grab it and pull it back just a little bit. Sorry, it's hard to see with my fingers in the way, but it's the only way to do this. Then we're going to tie it in right behind that bead there, like so. 2 wraps or so, and then you can pull this to make this loop a little bit smaller. You don't necessarily want it that big. You can use bodkin to round that out a little better. There we go. I like that. So a couple tight wraps over it and then pull it back. A couple tight wraps again. Cut that off, and you can save this for another couple flies. And surprisingly, the tying portion is now finished. So I'm going to whip finish right behind that bead. Cut it off close. Now we need some eyes, and I've got these really small 3mm living eyes from Fish Skull. Really small. That'll work perfectly for this. You can go a little bigger than this. Might need to go smaller if you can find those eyes, if you're doing a really small size. Anyway, I get them off and get them ready. Put them on my hand like this. This gel super glue. And I like Loctite. You can use super glue gel or whatever. Just a tiny dot on the side of the bead there. And as you can see, with a smaller bead like this, and then we were able to build up the thread behind it. If that was a bigger bead, this would sit canted too much. Instead, we're going to try to set this on there where it makes it flat across. Try to make these as even as possible when looking at them. It'll help to take it out of the vise and look at it head on. Those look pretty good, actually. A lot of times you'll have to adjust the way it's canted on the front. There we go. Now we've added the eyes. We're going to let that dry for a second. Alright, so now that that's dry, as you can see in between the eyes there's a little bit of a cavity right here. And we're just going to take this is Solares thin formula. Just a little drop in between those eyes, like so. Take that bodkin, pull that back. There we go. So that's going to fill in those eyes, and it's also going to add some stability to the back there. I'm going to actually add one more. That way the eyes don't have any sharp edges. Makes it a little more rounded there, a little more natural looking. Turn this upside down. We're going to fill in the cavity here. Be careful, don't add too much. cure that. So there's a couple different lines of their color resin. And I'm just shaking it up really quick. But this is the translucent pink. So they have Solarize Bone Dry Translucent like this. And then they have the UV color resin. So this is technically not the bone dry, it's a different thing, but it's not translucent at all. It's more solid colors. Okay, this is the black and this is the pink, and that's what I use. You can use an orange, you can use red, whatever you want for the underbody, but we're going to make an egg sac. So we're turning it upside down. We're going to use this to hold the resin. Okay, so we're shaking it up. I kind of turn it a little bit on its side so you can see how this is. And we're just going to put a drop like so. You can see that that holds it. And then from above we're going to shine down, and then we're going to get it from underneath also. So that'll keep it from, this stuff wants to run upward away from the light for some reason, and so that keeps it, when you shine from above first, it kind of helps keep that from running up around to the top there. Now, as you can see, it's really dark, and I find that this paintbrush thing is not super accurate. So what I do is grab a bodkin, see if I can do this in the camera, and wipe it on the bodkin like so. And then let's make a back like so. We're just painting that on. Again, cure from below to make sure that doesn't run down on itself, and that'll keep it up like that, up on top. Then you want to cure this just a little longer because it isn't translucent, so it takes a little longer for the light to penetrate through. There we go. Nice and hard. Okay, so now you've got a darker back. You can get really fussy with it. You can see, you know, it's a little wider over here and a little thinner there. You could make sure, you know, with your bodkin that you had placed it correctly. It's up to you. I don't really care. Nature is not perfect, right? So there's always imperfections everywhere in nature. So, you know, I personally don't find the need, but you could. So now we're going to do one last little bit here, cover all this, make a little bit more of a bulge. I'm going to turn this upside down so it doesn't cure, again, cure from top and then from the bottom. And there you go, you could be done. I like one last step though with it. This stuff, it's Solarize Ultra Thin, okay? And yes, I'm using a lot of Solarize. I love their stuff. They have such a wide range of different resins that are all just so great for fly tying. So anyway, we're just going to coat this entire thing over the eyes. Try not to get it in the eye of the hook, but the eyes for the fly, up into the base there, just over the whole thing here. Maybe add a little more. That was pretty dry. This is just going to add a nice glossy coat and just ensure that everything is nice and coated and even. Alright, so you're going to want to start spinning this like so, and then you want to cure it. As you can see, I'm now curing it, but my light's much further away. Start from further away while spinning, and then you can bring it closer, and that will help keep it from wanting to push from one side to the other, so it kind of cures it a little slower, and then you can get really close and really get that cured. There we go. There's the finished product. And I always like to double check. It's really easy to kind of get that resin in the eye, and sure enough I did not, so that's good. But a lot of times I will. A little baitfish fry that you use to nymph. It's a nymphing fry, but I call it the Baitfish Perdigon, however you pronounce that. But perdigons are basically jig hooks, simple nymphs on jig hooks like this that are very popular for Euro nymphing, and that's what I call this. Now I know that other people have made very similar flies, so I'm not saying I came up with this pattern necessarily. And I did technically, because it's not like I was looking at someone else's or trying to mimic someone else's. I just thought, hey, I think I want to fish a little bait fish, but I want to nymph it kind of like this. So I came up with something like this, and I think it works out great. I think it's really it's a good pattern. It works really well. Using the crystal flash here to hold the resin on the bottom really helps. I used to do it without that crystal flash bump, and I realized that it doesn't want to hold, and you're not creating a belly very easily. You have to add like 3 or 4 different drops of it to kind of build that up. And so this really helps, and then it gives like a nice little pearly body too, so it kind of actually adds to it. So I like that. Anyway, I hope you guys like this. Resin is my sponsor. I like them. I like all their hooks. I like all their rods and reels. Everything that they offer is really good price for what they are. Plus they have really great customer service. So I'm very happy to have them as my sponsor. But that's not the reason why I use their hooks. I use them because they are very good quality for the money. I do pay for my hooks. I don't get them free. I do get a discount with them, but so do you guys. So type in McFly at checkout. You'll get 15% off of your first order with Resin. And I think you'll be very happy, especially with these hooks. These are amazing hooks, but everything that they offer is high quality for the price. Also, what Resin doesn't offer, because they just manufacture stuff. So if they have rods, reels, hooks, stuff like that they manufacture, but not all the materials. So the flash, these eyes, tail that I used here, that chickaboo, those kind of things are they don't sell because they don't manufacture it. So you can go to the Fly Artist for the rest of the stuff. I work with them. I will put links in the description section. Yes, I do get kickbacks from that, and they do give me a little bit. It's not a lot, but they really have very good prices, and they have a really good selection and good customer service too. I'm very picky on who I use because I want to make sure that I'm going to offer something that is good quality, good price, and they have good customer service to help you guys. So definitely check out both Resin Fly and the Fly Artist. Fly Artist is offering 5% off. So type in, I think, McFly as well, and you'll get, I'll put everything in the description section, by the way. I'll link to every single product in the description section, but you'll get 5% off Fly Artist, 15% off of Resin Fly. So why not? Just check it out. I think you'll be really happy. Plus, you'll be helping out the channel a little bit. Anyway, I will see you guys in the next video. Now you go catch some fish.